You have questions about COVID, and we're here to help you find the answers. We want to welcome you into coronavirus, deeper dive into the Arizona numbers. Let us know where you're watching from and post your questions there. And we'll start to, Monday is always the best day to get the answers to the questions and find the best websites to help you dig deep into this information. So we will start where we always do on the summary page, Garrett. And a lot to talk about there today. One thing of note, whether you trust the numbers that are coming in worldwide or you don't, either way, they are getting very close now to 1 million lives lost across the planet. Of course, we've had 204,000 families lose someone here in the U.S. We're just about 205,000 now. But let's get into the numbers as they are Arizona-based, and we'll take a closer look at how things look for us here, and we'll talk about which two counties really are going to have are going to be watching these numbers closely because of how things are changing within their counties, and we'll get to that in just a moment. Garrett?
Absolutely. So this is Monday. So Monday low reporting. We've got some pretty low numbers that came in today, 273 new cases and only one new reported recent death. This comes on the heels of about 5,400 cases right here, bringing our percent positive, cumulative percent positive to 11.2. So yeah, again, Monday, these are always low numbers. Really want to see what happens tomorrow. Everything's pretty recent in these numbers right here, but it's essentially what we're expecting for a Monday at this point.
And two counties in particular we're watching closely, and as always, we like to tip into Maricopa County since it is the most populous as well. So three that we could peek at a little bit closer on this summary page that tell us a bit more of the story about what's happening there, Garrett.
So I'm going to take us to the, we're going to talk about the three counties here. We'll start with Maricopa, of course, because it's the largest county by far. And they, as is typical, the majority of the cases are coming from Maricopa County, and the reported death did also come from Maricopa County. There is not a situation today that I could find where there were deaths withdrawn from the list. Today was just a simple one ad from Maricopa, and everyone else was at zero. So that's of course Maricopa County. The other two counties that we have to watch very closely are Pima County. Only 18 cases reported today with no deaths. And Pima, excuse me, that was Coconino, my apologies. And Pima County, 33 cases, no deaths. So I'm going to take you really quick before we move off this to the confirmed cases per day. And I'm going to move this to, we'll keep it the way it is right now, see what it looks like. Yeah, we'll stay with this. So we look at Maricopa County. When you look at Maricopa County, you look at the rest of the state. Obviously, the two epi curves, which this is the date of occurrence, they're obviously, they mirror each other because Maricopa is such a substantial number of the cases. But let's go on to Pima County. Large county, but not as large as Maricopa, and thus doesn't have as much influence on the numbers. And you can see here that a massive jump on July 30th, but after that it went down, except you can see a pretty substantial case rise that happened last week. And we are seeing things calm down there. So that's a good thing for Pima, because as we've already talked about, as of right now, Pima is going to be put into substantial by next week. We'll see what happens with this 470 case number over the next couple of days, because this is going to determine how long Pima remains in the substantial category. Same thing with Coconino. In fact, you can see Coconino might be even in a worse position than Pima County at this point, because you see they're going to be in substantial because of next week. But we also have a fairly high case number for the week of September 20th and climbing as well. So this is a situation where Coconino might be in substantial for a couple weeks rather than just a 2-week period where we can talk about how that was possibly because of college testing in Pima County and also in Coconino County, but it seems to be continuing in Coconino. Plus, we're starting to see some rises in case numbers on the Navajo reservation.
Okay, so a couple of things to watch right there. I do want to get to just a couple questions as Garrett, you're on the ACDHS page, and of course people can go there to take take a closer look at their particular county. But Rod is asking, is it really safe for our children to be back at campus on school grounds and he's posted the zip code there. One thing we can tell you is we're not here to make decisions for you or your life, but we can help you find that information posted online. So we can take you to that site in just a minute to help show you that specific zip code, but it's something you'll want to talk to your pediatrician about as well. And we'll get to that in just a minute. Eaton's asking what's going on in Queen Creek, possibly a spike there. So we'll get to those two questions in just a second. Hang with us on those two. So Coconino and Pima County that you were speaking to there, Garrett, those two counties, they're currently still technically in the moderate category, but it's Thursday that they would be recalculated by the state as they do every single Thursday. And they've already been sort of put on warning that this could possibly be coming for them.
Yes, they're right now, these two numbers represent a per capita of over 100 for these counties. And as we've talked about, one of the gating criteria is per week. And I saw that someone asked a question of how you make this graph with the larger bars. There's this plus and minus down here, and you just simply click one of these. It's now at a monthly. And now this is the weekly, and then you can go back to daily. But I'm going to stay on monthly for now because we're or weekly, excuse me. And these two numbers represent an over 100K, a 100 per 100K. And you can see we've got another week where it's declared that it's still going to be over 100K as of this moment. So this is the problem that Coconino's having, is that it is showing a noticeable uptick that is against the gating criteria at this point. Yeah.
Okay. So we haven't heard like total specifics yet to pass along to all of you for what's going to happen in these two counties or how they're going to deal with this situation. But we were the first to warn many of you on here that this was possibly coming. And then the state went ahead and backed up exactly what we were saying here and reached out to those counties to try to pass along some guidance for what should happen in this area. Okay, so let's get to Rod's question. Rod was posting actually the wrong zip code, so I want to correct what was posted on there. 85043 was the zip code that they were interested in. And one of the places you're going to want to check is, of course, the school's dashboard, but that is not updated till Thursday. So this number that we'll share with you was from last Thursday, and it won't be updated again until the following Thursday. Again, you have to make your own choices about what's safe for your family based on their health and their tendencies. You know, will your child keep a mask on, things like that? Are the other kids keeping their masks on? So all of those things you'll need to look at for yourself, but here's where you find it. On maricopa.gov/school dashboard.
Yeah, I'm looking at 85043 right now. I'll just share it really quick. We won't go through the zip codes right now at this very moment because that takes forever. And I love doing it. We'll do it again, I promise. But 85043 is a substantial zip code. It was substantial because of a very high % positivity last week, so 14.45. But it does have a declining case per 100. I did check another data source that I have just now, just to see what the growth has been like in that zip code for the last week. And there's actually been no growth in that zip code for the last week. They've actually shed 2 cases in the last week. So this zip code does appear to be trending in the right direction.
Okay, so Rod, you'll want to check with us on Thursday. We'll get some updated numbers and we'll really dive into the school districts. All right, Aaron Jones is asking, can you talk projections? We absolutely can talk projections. What's your favorite site? Your pick today, Garrett. Where do you want to start for projections?
We're going to start with the simplest, which is the COVID-19-projections.com.
Yeah.
It's just the simplest to understand, and that's one of the reasons I like it so much. And where we are with projections, we did go over this before. We do have a situation in which this particular site does believe we have a rising rate of transmission. Where it believes we're at a 0.96 right now, but it does believe that it's going to go to a 1.01 by October 31st. And you can also see in all of these right here, you can see that there's a slight uptick, or at least a slight bending of the curve in all of these projections at this point, where it does believe that it's going to, again, not a massive increase by any means at this point, but it certainly is detecting that things will be going up by October 31st. Again, we don't know if that's going to happen, but that's what this does. Based on the hard data, this is a machine learning algorithm, this particular projection. So, I really trust the data that they put out as far as just being, very conservative in the estimates.
So, Garrett, the colored in bar is sort of the range of their projections, and then the dotted line is the one they have the most confidence in. Is that correct?
Exactly. That is the best way of putting that.
All right. So we've got the website up on the screen. If you all would like to go check it out, that again is COVID-19-projections.com. They've got the pull down bar for every single state. So if some of you are watching from other places, it's a really great place to go to learn a little bit more about how things look. I saw, Jenny, you were just asking about New York. You can also check this for New York. I know you're thinking about going there next week. I had not heard anything about them lifting the quarantine restrictions. So we'll be sure to update you each day if we hear that change at all.
And there is also data for like very large counties that does do projections. Like for LA County, for example, there are some projections here. But this is again for very large counties. It's not for every county, just for very big ones that are have a lot of population. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Garrett. That's great. A great site to go to. Was there any other that you wanted to dip into before I grab another question?
No. I mean, we looked at IHME next week. I want to stick with COVID projections right now, and we'll the only thing else we'll look at later on is we do have some when we go to the rate of transmission, we can look at the county rates of transmission. But we'll stick with this for now.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. One more question just came in. Wendy's asking, how about the families 606,000 who lost their lives to cancer? We would love to do one of these broadcasts on cancer as well. Right now, this is just on COVID. So if we get the chance in the future to do that one, it's a topic we'd love to talk about. But right now, this is just the COVID update. Let's see. Trying to get to all the questions. Monday is the best day to ask questions because we have a little more time to get to some of them. Hey, Garrett, it feels like a lot more people are out and about.
Yes.
It's like I just gauge it anecdotally just on the end of my street here when I go to pull out onto a busy road, and it takes me a little bit longer. When we were locked down, of course, nobody was out there. Do we have any real life numbers that track mobility to reflect how things sort of feel out there right now?
Yeah, we do actually have these. We've talked about them before. They are several cell carriers anonymize data and give it to several massive big data firms to do some indexing on how the mobility looks in different regions of the country. And we do have one for Arizona. I do have one for the counties too, but I have to do a couple things to make that one work. As you can see, this always starts with an index of basically 100, this is what things look like prior to the pandemic. And then this is where things started to lock down, and we go down to a near zero. And then this is, of course, where the lockdown was sort of lifted, when it started to increase. And then as our caseloads in July started getting worse, people organically started to stay home again, and this number dropped. But about the middle of July, as things started to look better, our mobility started to increase and has been on a gradual increase ever since. And now we're pretty much at the highest point of mobility in the state that we have been since the beginning of the pandemic.
Yeah, it's interesting how you can see the dates along there and how things sort of it might be like the community response to it as well, how much they're concerned about things, how much they're getting the message about how high our numbers are or how low our numbers are. All right, more questions coming in. Janet was just asking about newborns and pregnant women. Janet, I just put out the request to a couple of doctors for some more information about pregnant women and newborns because we get so many questions on it. I have heard that they are on it. They're looking for it, but there's no specific study out there yet that I've gotten back from them. So as soon as, trust me, I get so many questions on it. So as soon as I hear something, I'll pass it along to all of you. Let's see. Eric was saying, if masks work, why are we paranoid going into the winter? I hope you're not paranoid, Eric. This is why we talk about this every day, to try to educate you on the numbers, make you feel comfortable about being safe and being out there. So yeah, wear your mask and be safe when you have to run errands or head out. Oh, Janet, you're welcome. Thank you for the thank you. Garrett, when we look at some of the mobility numbers you just showed us, we're talking, everybody's looking ahead to Halloween, of course, because it's the next sort of celebration or family get together. I know that tonight at 10, Sonu also has been working on this story for us about some COVID safer options, if you will, for celebrating Halloween. We're going to have that tonight at 10. But one of the things that happened this weekend where people were already ready to celebrate, and producer Josh was one of them, heading over to the fair. Obviously, the fair had to be pushed back until next year, so there will be no Maricopa County Fair. But they had the drive-through lines set up for people to go get snacks and try out some of the fair food. The lines were so long that they actually had to shut the line down at 7 and say, enough's enough. This is where we have to cut it off or we'll be here all night trying to hand out funnel cake. They had over 3,000 cars that went through. If you're going to go, they're going to have it again next weekend. They're actually having longer hours. So they're starting earlier, ending later. It seems like it was just a good way to get out of the house, and a lot of people showed up. So you can go take part. It's going to start earlier, end later. We'll get you all the details as we get closer to it, but it'll be as early as Thursday. It's really cool to see how businesses and different events are trying to pivot around the restrictions that have been in place and the safety measures to keep families safe. So you'll want to join us tonight at 10, and we'll talk about some of the options for Halloween and celebrating safely here in the Valley. Okay, let's see. Some other questions we want to get to. Hey, when we talk about long lines places, one place that's having shorter lines is the testing sites through ASU. They've shortened the hours just a little bit. I think it's from 7 a.m. to about 10:30 now. You can sign up if you're interested in getting a COVID test and you just want to do that saliva test. They still have it on Saturdays over at State Farm Stadium. I believe there's a weekday they're also doing it. You can find that information on AZDHS's website. So the very front page, scroll down. It's got a place where you can sign up for any test that you need, and also the saliva-based testing that they have out there. I talked to someone who went on Saturday. They said it was so easy once they signed up. There weren't even any lines out there, so it's quick to get through that. All right. Let's see. There was another question that just came in a minute ago. I'll have to get back to it. We'll have to check back on it. Garrett, were you seeing some of those? Oh, here's Amanda's suggestion. Doing a Halloween hunt in the house with kids, letting them dress up and play spooky music. Great idea for celebrating. So a lot of people trying to work around it and figure something out. At this point, we're having a driveway party just because a lot of our neighbors are older and they probably don't want to answer the door. So we'll just buy candy and kind of hang out. So Kimberly's asking, are we not testing enough? How many test results have we gotten in over these past few days? How did the weekend look as far as results go?
We're actually doing pretty good on testing. So let me just.
I know total, Garrett, we have in the state 1.7 million test results that have come in. How those break down to antigen and PCR and antibody, a little bit more specific in there, but 1.7 million overall is how we're looking for Arizona. But overnight, I mean, we were seeing some days that had 7,000 test results overnight.
Yeah, I mean, we're at the point right now where every day we're getting more tests than we had from basically the beginning or the middle of August, late September or early September. My apologies. And so we're doing really good on testing. Now, this all has to do with the addition of the antigen testing. Let me share my screen. I'm bringing up the epi curves, and you can see how there was a noticeable dip in testing. This is the testing. Just want to make sure. There was a noticeable dip in testing just in the beginning of September, and then as the antigen tests began to be added to the system, as well as obviously these antigen tests were being done on university students, you can see our testing really did start to ramp up from where we were. I mean, there's obviously a noticeable downtick and then just an immediate ramp up on the average. So, and as of right now, as you can see where the average is, it's essentially at the plateau of where we were in late August as things were starting to go down. Now, of course, we're nowhere near where we were in June and July when there were lines out in the at the testing facilities. But as far as the demand of testing and the volume of testing, it's doing pretty good.
Yeah, it seems as if. We heard from some people on here who were concerned that there weren't enough tests out there, but at this point, it seems like things are okay. Let's see. A lot of people are talking about snowbirds traveling from every other state and country. A lot of people are posting about the Canadians coming in. Well, as far as traveling this year, again, we don't make any decisions for anybody's life or a snowbird's life or anybody that's considering traveling, but we are going to continue to go through the information and the stats here in Arizona so that if they do want to come from Minnesota or wherever, they can make the best informed decision for whether that's safe for them based on their health concerns and their life. And I know a lot of people, we've talked about this, Garrett, whether you're a snowbird or you're still working and you're considering coming to Arizona. A lot of people are looking around their apartment or a condo in Chicago and New York and saying, I'm just going to take my computer and keep working from home, but call home somewhere warm in Arizona. So we're hearing of that a lot. All right.
I mean, what's interesting is that when you talk about snowbirds, obviously there's a contingency of snowbirds that come from the Midwest. And what we're seeing sort of higher cases coming out of the Midwest right now. It's one of the hot spots in the country is what's happening. So I mean, that's just an interesting.
Especially, right, Garrett?
Wisconsin, North Dakota, Missouri, a lot of sort of new cases coming out of those areas right now. So I can see, just me talking, like I can see how some snowbirds from that area would think, well, Arizona has very low case rates, so I'd rather go there than come here where our case rates are rising. I mean, if you look at DVOC 91, which is, we haven't gone here in a while, but I'll just take you over. This is the site that does the normalized by population case numbers. I have the Midwest showing with Arizona, and you can see that Arizona has a lower case rate than every state in the Midwest. In fact, the entire Midwest, you can see, is basically, with the exception of Ohio and Michigan, every other state is essentially on an incline, and a pretty aggressive incline at that. So that's just one of those things. You know, we're talking about these snowbirds, and a lot of them are from this area. So, you know, an interesting data point.
Yeah. What is the red state up there on the top?
This is North Dakota.
Wow.
Yeah, still kind of being hammered. North Dakota was at the top. As you can see, it's been at the top for quite some time now. I mean, as far as 16 days or so, North Dakota has been at the top of its regional list.
Yeah, interesting. So Amanda's asking, are we still a hot spot? No, not really, not now.
Yeah.
You can see Arizona down at the bottom. And then another place we can go to show everybody how we look state to state is, of course, RT Live, which is updated each day. So at about 9 o'clock in the morning, they rerun it and give us a look at how things are on there. It's a great place to check, just such a simple website. And then you can sort of see all the states lined up through there to see kind of how things are. But remember, this is a site that's going to change day to day. So something like what we saw, the antigen tests all be poured in, can really, really affect this. Is that Wyoming? Wow, way at the top there.
Yeah, Wyoming's way at the top. You can see most of these up here are Midwestern states.
Wow.
There are some southern and eastern seaboard states, but you know, so some pretty high numbers up here on the rate of transmission. We're all the way back down here again at 0.9 at this point, but our error bars are above 1, so which means that RT Live believes we are either shrinking or growing, as is most of the case of these. But this estimate essentially means they're more confident that we're shrinking than we are growing. Whereas if you're over 1 and you're up here, they're more confident that you're growing. They're pretty confident you're growing because they have your error bars above 1 no matter what.
Yeah. Brienne's asking, when is my child able to go to school without a mask? I don't know if it'll happen in this school year. It'll be interesting to see. Probably in the next school year, until vaccines are widely available or there's a solution here. I don't see that things are going to change. I'm seeing a lot of people weigh in saying the same thing, that you know it's not going to be this year likely. Okay, let's see. That RT Live, we mentioned that, great site to go check. Also, COVID Act Now, we haven't been there, I don't think, since last week. It's a really helpful place because it has expanded what it provides on that site to kind of give us a lot more information.
Yeah, in fact, they give the RT number for all of, they do give an RT estimate for all of the counties, which is great, because one of the issues that we have right now that we're watching very carefully is that we do have spread going on in a lot of the rural counties. About 5 of the rural counties, we're seeing at least some growth. Most of them surrounding the Navajo Nation, so which was a hotspot a while ago. And so this is what we have right now. They think our infection rate on this site, COVID Act Now, is 0.99, so still under 1, but not as nice as the RT.live estimate. Positive test rate, 5%. Daily new cases, 6.3. All of those are very good numbers. Here are the county numbers that we were talking about. I'm just going to share this entire thing. You can see that Coconino County, infection rate of 1.3. Yuma County, 1.1. And then Apache County, 1.09. Gila County, 1.07. Pima, 1.04. So those are the 5 counties that they believe right now have an increased transmission, 2 of which are on the Navajo Nation, or at least encompass large portions of these counties encompass the Navajo Nation. And then the Gila County, while it does not encompass Navajo Nation, it does have a fairly sizable reservation as well on there on the White Mountain Apache tribe. So it does appear that we might be having some issues in some of the tribal areas. Definitely have to watch this. Make sure they're getting the resources they need and everything's going the way they can manage this. What's going on right now?
Yeah, that they have everything they need to, if they have enough tests, if they have enough processing, all of those things. It's interesting. Okay, so Maricopa County is coming in at 9 of 15 counties.
Yes, and you see, for the most part, Maricopa, obviously being the urban county here at a 0.91, fairly low. And then even Graham County, which it's marked as a college county, as 0.88. Pima County, our other urban county, is just over 1 at 1.04.
So again, this is at covidactnow.org. We had some people asking about county projections or county specific data last week or the week before. So we found this site. We thought it was really helpful. Wanted to share it again. Maria's asking if a person is positive, should they get tested again to know if they are negative and no longer contagious? Maria, obviously up to you. We're hearing some discussion now about how long people need to stay in quarantine. So the suggestion at this point, 14-day quarantine, but Garrett, they're talking now about going back in and testing more people at 8 days, at 10 days, at 12 days, just to see if that 14-day suggestion still stands for a quarantine level to be safe, or if somebody needs to be kept to themselves that long to protect others. So as soon as we hear,
and now that we're coming out with more rapid tests, it's a little easier for them to do that. Before, with these PCR tests that took two to 3 days to process, it was very difficult to do sort of a track testing of somebody, because 2-3 days after the test is done, then you have the answer. But it's like, oh, that's it's now been 2 to 3 days, so our estimate has to go out 2 to 3 days more, no matter what. But with these antigen tests, they're inexpensive, they're very quick, they're pretty reliable. You can test someone a lot more with the antigen test and sort of get where you need to be with those than with the PCRs.
Yeah, and that's the test within minutes. Remember, I always talk about the saliva test. That's the one I did. So easy. That one right now, from the person I talked to, went on Saturday. It was a 36-hour turnaround time. So Maria, talk to your doctor about that, of course. But and it depends on your lifestyle. If you're going to be around somebody that you don't want to get sick, who hasn't had it, that's one of the things to check on. Very few symptoms and was feeling great, so wasn't sure. Yeah, just be safe so you don't get anybody else sick. But of course, talk to your doctor. And by the way, glad you're feeling better. Glad you're bouncing back from this. Okay, let's see.
Well, since we're on the third-party sites, we can spend a little time at COVID exit strategy too, and see where we compare as far as the gating criteria with all the other states. And so far, actually, things look pretty good on COVID exit strategy. And this has not always been the case for Arizona. We were actually in sort of the dark red for quite some time. And you can see now we're one of 3 states on the west that are in this orange color, which is the caution warranted. The best color you can get, with the exception of this green color, which basically requires nearly no transmission at all in their case. I mean, both of these have a test positivity of under 1 for the entire state. We have our numbers, slight increase in our last 14-day cases from 394 to 460, but at the same time, our positivity is going down into the 5%. We talk about this every day, how they're only able to pick up our daily positives, but now that we don't have as much lag in any of our tests and backfilling, we have really good testing positivity numbers that are coming in, because they're all sort of reflecting what they should be, which is that under 5% range.
Yeah. So this site is helpful. I've seen this a few places in the last week. People are going to it. It seems like more often because of that U.S. map that's so helpful. And then as you're showing this sort of pull down section that's got it state by state and the listing there.
Yes, and it does have, it says things like, so the contact tracing, it says in our case, it's extremely difficult because we already had so many cases going on, and sort of go through all of those and backfill the contact tracing. That's why they're essentially saying it would be too difficult to do. And then you see they've adjusted our target test. Now we're at about 60% of where we should be, which is not terrible. We could be better, but it's not terrible. And then our ICU, this is normal ICU, 55%, which, I mean, if you remember back, 4 or 5 weeks ago, that was up in the 80 percentile. So 55% is pretty good.
Yeah. Greg is asking, why are masks not mandatory in Scottsdale now? Greg, they're still mandatory in Scottsdale because they're mandatory in Maricopa County. So there was a lot of discussion around that, but remember, Maricopa County still has the mask mandate.
Yeah, some of the local municipalities are starting to rescind their mask orders, and basically that's the way the reason they're doing it is because they're covered by the Maricopa mask order, and it's more of an administrative process. It's like, okay, we're just going to do this so that when you rescind it, it's the final order, so we don't have to go back and do all the administrative paperwork to do ours afterwards.
Right.
They're just going to the largest, jurisdiction. That's
Yeah.
pretty standard in government. When I worked in government, that's pretty standard stuff.
Yeah, and a side note to all of that, the discussion around that, most all of the major hospitals have come out and said they're not ready for a mask mandate to be lifted at any point in Maricopa County. So we heard from each of the major hospital groups saying, not interested in that at this point, but to update you, that's how that looks. B's asking, when will the mandate end? Doesn't seem like it's anytime soon.
Yeah, the doctors that I've talked to, emergency room doctors that follow me on Twitter that I have discussions with, most of them say things are looking really good right now, but some of them are a little cautious. They're just, and this is all anecdotal, of course, but they're cautious. They're saying, things feel a little like a calm before the storm right now. These people were in it in the front lines in the very beginning, so they're all kind of feeling a little uneasy at this point of the ones that I talked to. So, I mean, just something to think about. I'm not trying to instill fear or anything. This is just opinion of about 3 or 4 emergency room doctors that I talked to on Twitter. It's just sort of feeling that it almost feels like it's a calm before the storm to them.
Yeah, that's what we're hearing. We'll go through some of those hospitalization numbers. Peely was asking about Santa Cruz. Can we pull up Santa Cruz County for her? And Doris is also asking, when will schools fully open? Doris, you can find the list of school updates right now on abc15.com/schools. So you'll be able to see each school district and what their plans are, because they vary so widely. It would take forever to go through all of them. But Doris, that's where you can find that. And then Peely was asking about Santa Cruz.
Yeah, I'm pulling up the numbers as I'm talking, just so that I can go through this with a little bit more. And of course, it's not going to work, because why would it work? So Santa Cruz. Come on. Sorry. All right. Sorry about that.
Yeah, okay.
I had a code in real time, which is no fun to do.
Hey, we're impressed.
Thank you.
I can remember why I walked into the laundry room and you're writing code as you're live up here with us.
So Santa Cruz, I'm looking at their numbers right now, and it does appear that while they are not in danger of going into sort of the higher transmission at this point, as you can see, they do have a 3-step process here, 18 to, I'm looking at the per capita is why I'm looking at this, but they've had 3 weeks of increase plus this most recent week. That's sort of concerning, although these numbers that we're looking at are not over 100 per 100K. So I have to go back with the AZDHS. They might still be okay because they're not over 100K, 100 per 100, but they are increasing. And it's just something to watch.
Okay. Mary's asking, what happened to door-to-door? I think, Mary, you're asking about the Sero survey, if I'm not mistaken. Let me know in the comments. But the Sero survey, they were getting closer to being done with it, but they hadn't reached their final goal. So they were still out there working to get more more households to take part in this. This was the antibody testing that they were going door to door. They wanted to get 500 homes and sort of see how widespread this was by people who may have been asymptomatic and not known that they'd gotten it. But we have been talking to the county. We did a story last week on it. You can find our reporting on abc15.com/coronavirus. But let's see.
My browser froze, so I'm gonna pop out and come right back in because I can't do anything when my browser's frozen. So just give me 1 second.
Okay, we'll let you duck out for just a second, Garrett, and we'll keep you updated on all of this right here. Mary, you were asking about prisons, I think, if they were counting them. So we'll get back to Garrett's answer in just a minute. I do want to update all of you on how things look overall. In the U.S., we have passed 7 million cases. We told you that last week. We're now at 7.1 million cases. Almost 205,000 lives lost across the U.S. And as we always say, we remember that each and every one of those lives lost is somebody's mom or brother or sister or cousin or neighbor, someone they love. So 205,000, just a huge number. And we're getting close to that 1 million mark across worldwide as well, with 33 million cases in that worldwide. So just wanted to update you on those numbers. Garrett, Mary was asking specifically, welcome back, by the way. Mary was asking specifically, what about the prisons? Do we have any update on the prison numbers that had come out? Those were part of the antigen testing, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, they were. They were very much. I haven't tracked the prisons very much as far as the exact number of cases, but I'll bring up their dashboard. I did want to, if producer Josh can just bring up the site, the case site, because I had accidentally had Pima County highlighted when I was talking about Santa Cruz, and I'm talking and it didn't make any sense to me as I was talking. So this is Santa Cruz. So as you can see, they do not have three weeks in successive order of increase. So Santa Cruz is in no danger of going into the substantial at this point. So I just wanted to clear that up. That was my fault. It was just, I was talking at the same time, like, nope, this is not right. So now let me, that being said, I will bring up the Arizona Department of Corrections dashboard. And they do have a dashboard. I think we have it in our links, but I'll send it over just in case. This is where you can go to see what has occurred and what is occurring in the Department of Corrections. It does have all of the prisons in Arizona and the number of inmates confirmed, number of inmates negative, recovered, daily total populations, and you can track this over time to see what's going on. And it also does have self-reported for staff positive and recovered. You can see that about 11 staff members right now are active with COVID-19. As far as the number of active inmates, it does look like it's over 1,000 in all of the populations right now. And we did, as we talked about, we did do some tremendous numbers of testing over the last couple of weeks. Here's one. We did one here at Perryville. This one, a lot of testing that happened. It did. If you remember, we were going over the zip code numbers. This zip code was impacted greatly by some testing, and this is likely the reason it was. And also this one as well, Lewis Prison. You can see there was some inmates confirmed, 264. So you see, we see this in the zip code numbers all the time, but a lot of times it is because of this congregate settings, especially in these rural zip codes that surround Maricopa County, because we know that there's not many people who live in these zip codes.
Yeah, so that's a site worth checking if, like, your county, for some strange reason, goes into the red zone. Suddenly you might have had an antigen update that came in that could affect that.
That is correct. I mean, there is like Winslow, although I think Winslow is in, is it in Coconino? I feel terrible now being in Arizona and not knowing if Winslow's in Coconino or Navajo County. But there's a prison up there, and there was, not a whole lot of inmates confirmed up there. So it does look like it's something that is happening. It looks like it's a metric that's happening in the urban prison systems, not sort of outside in the rurals, where, what we did see in, say, Coconino, for example, was increases because of the NAU rather than it looks like what would have been a prison system.
Okay. I want to get to more of the comments. So many questions and comments coming in. I want to get to all of them. I'm trying to read through them and jot them down as they're going by. B is saying that the death count is inflated. We're seeing excess deaths be across the board. Now, some of those, Garrett, are going to be attributed to other things like the heat wave that we had this summer. Some are still being investigated, but overall, the loss of life here in Arizona has been greater in 2020, no matter the reason, than it has in other years.
Yes, and we're at about, I think it was about 30. I haven't looked at it in a couple days, and I don't have every number memorized, but we were at about we had about 35% increase August year over year. And I know when people say that the death number is inflated, it's typically because they're presuming this data point about 6% of COVID deaths are coming from only COVID-19. But we've talked about this before. This is more of an administrative situation. It's more of a data incomplete. There are 6% of the death certificates that only have COVID-19, but they should be more fully completed. It doesn't mean that all of these others died from something else. Everyone else in that list did die from COVID-19. They just had a fully completed death certificate. And we talked about how this has also been going on since the very beginning. It seems that there's about a 6% margin of error that continues ever since ever since sort of April, May, June, July. We've always had this 6% number that's continued no matter what. And this is because of this, death certificate from June that was not complete in that 6%. At some point it was completed and it's no longer in that 6%. And then here now in September, we have 6% of death certificates by the CDC aren't completed. And then in October, some of those will be completed, but we'll still have the 6% because more will be joining that pool while they're being investigated.
Yeah, I think what people forget or are lucky for them actually don't know because they haven't seen a death certificate is that it has several lines. So it can have 4 different lines or more of things that contributed to the death. So what they're hearing that 6% and seeing that 6% is just because just COVID was on that line, but really several things can be on there. So
it should be. I mean, we talked about like if a gunshot wound doesn't just have gunshot wound on it. It usually has exactly what happened. And that actually, caused the life to end, not just the gunshot wound might be the first thing, but there's a bunch of other stuff that actually stopped everything. And that's what a death certificate typically looks like. So if it only has COVID-19, it's actually missing data rather than, oh, no, this is it. We've just determined COVID-19 and we're done.
Yeah. Okay, so we've covered that so many different times because there's been so many internet rumors and things that gone around, and people have picked that 6% out and thought it meant something else, and that is absolutely not the case. So we'll just end it there because it gets into too much conversation about something that we've covered again and again and again, and then the people who don't understand it aren't really committed to understanding it either. So, okay.
Someone actually asked about the CLI curve, Dina, and thank you very much. That is something I should bring up on a Monday, so I appreciate that. I'm bringing it up right now. The COVID-like illness, this is something that we update every single Sunday. It gets updated by the AZDHS, so we should take a look at it. I have it ready to go. As you can see, we still have declines in both our inpatient and emergency room departments. It did recalculate slightly, and the decline for the last 3 weeks right here, starting from 8:30 to 9:13, were sort of recalculated to be a slightly smaller decline, but we're still seeing pretty significant declines. We've had, I think the governor likes to talk about this number, and for good reason. It does show that we've had declines in our inpatient and emergency room visits for 11 straight weeks. So this is something to keep watching, and so far, this being sort of the initial canary in the coal mine, we haven't seen increases in this number, and that is great news.
Yeah, really good news. I want to go through all the hospitalization numbers, but we just are running out of time at this point today. So what I will promise you is we will for sure get to those tomorrow. Thank you for all the kind words. Cindy, I'm seeing your comment here. Appreciate you doing these daily deep dives. My family finds it helpful. Thank you for saying so. That's the exact reason why we do this, so that you all can make the best decision for your family, for your kids. You know their health. You know if grandparents are going to be around them. You know how they live and the choices that they make in their life. So we're just here to provide you with the data and the information behind it so that you all can make the best choices for your lives and your health. That's going to do it for today. I want to let you know where to find us. You can find Garrett at on Twitter at Garrett_Archer. Great place to check, like 8:30, 9 in the morning, because he gives the sort of wraparound of the day, the updates, especially if you're going to miss us here in the afternoon. I am on Twitter at Katie Raml. You guys, thanks for all the thank yous coming in. So sweet. So thank you is all I can say back. So you're welcome, and thank you for the thank yous. At Facebook, if that's your preferred method, you can find me at facebook.com/news from Katie. Want to remind you again, tonight at 10, we do have that story on safe Halloweening, if you will. Can we make it a verb? So that you can get out there safely and still celebrate with your kids. Some options here in the Valley. We'll have that for you at 10. Of course, all our newscasts coming up at 4, 5, 6, and 10, and also our new newscast over on the CW 61. That's at 9 p.m. in the evening. And then we'll see you back tomorrow. Tuesdays can sometimes be kind of busy, so we'll have a lot to get to. We'll see you then. Same time, same place. Be safe out there, everybody.